Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks for joining me once again. So I'm back today with another thread response. There's been a lot of contests and threads lately, and this one looks really interesting. So this is a response to Johnny Mac from Rock and Metal Plus. Most of you are probably familiar with his channel and already subscribed. He recently achieved the milestone of 500 subscribers. So first of all, John, congratulations. It's really well deserved, and I've been watching your channel for a long time, ever since Liam recommended it, actually, the Death Doom Metalhead, so quite a while. And if you don't know John, he's a great guy, really funny, and he's got an awesome collection. Honestly, I can't keep up with his updates, and I mean that in a good way, but so much quality music coming in, so I'll leave a link to his channel if you're not familiar with it. And what he's asked us to do in order to celebrate this milestone is answer a few questions, well actually just one question, which is name 5 albums that got you into the music that you love. So very interesting question, you know, to hear about everyone's origins. And I've been watching loads of the responses lately, and I apologize if I haven't commented on your video. There's just so many, but I've been really enjoying them, so keep them coming. It's interesting, and I thought I will participate as well. In addition to that, he's asked us to give 5 shout outs to other YouTube channels, so I'll do that after I've shown my albums. So without further ado, I will get started with my response. Now, John said 5 albums. I have an unconventional 6 or 7, and there's a reason, but hopefully I'm still complying with instructions. You'll hear in my explanations. Okay, so 5 albums, 5 or so albums that got you into the music you love. So I'm gonna go in chronological order of my discovery and journey of music. Okay, so first of all, without a doubt, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. This was my gateway to heavy music. This album came out when I was about 10 years old, and at that time, a friend of mine from school, he loved this band and Bon Jovi, and it was just completely unknown to me. But then when I was over at his place, like, he always played this music, and I really loved this album. Obviously, it was the heaviest thing I had ever heard at the time, and it was pretty edgy, you know, with the swearing in the lyrics and everything, and the image of the band. It was just cool. So like, yeah, this was really a gateway album, and it is a classic, and it's held up to this day. I don't need to say much about it because everyone knows it. Yeah, and it's famous for all the single songs. Actually, my favorites are some of the lesser known ones, including It's So Easy, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, and the very underrated Think About You, but all great songs. And as my rock journalist friend said, this album makes you feel like you're in the gutter with them. So this was a very influential album in terms of introducing me to the heavier side of music. So yeah, that's the first one, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Okay, now, up next, the second very important album for me. So Guns N' Roses, I know they weren't exactly a hair metal band, but they were sort of associated with that scene. So in time, I discovered other bands, you know, like Motley Crue and so on. But another album sort of related to that genre, which was very important for me, was Def Leppard with Hysteria. So when I discovered Guns N' Roses, I was about 10 years old. This album was when I was 11 years old, and I was just completely blown away by the melody. And actually, that aforementioned friend who showed me the Guns N' Roses album, it was his brother who showed me the video clip of Pour Some Sugar on Me. You know, the one where there's the butch woman demolishing the house and the band's playing inside, and I just loved the sound of the song, the video clip, everything, and I thought, oh, this band is just incredible. Obviously, this band needs no introduction. Tremendous grip on melody, especially with the backing vocals and everything, and this was the first band I would say that I became truly obsessed with, and I just listened to this album to death when I was like 11 years old, yeah, non-stop, and I've been a fan of the band ever since. I think this album still holds up today. You all know it, but yeah, classic, like all killer, no filler. Yeah, so is it hair metal? No, not really, but it's kind of related. But yes, it was important in the sense that this was the first band that I became completely obsessed with. Yeah, so Def Leppard, Hysteria. Okay, now up next, this choice might surprise people. This is my unconventional 6th one, if you like additional number. But yes, Nirvana, Bleach. So this album came out in 1989. I was about 12 years old when Nevermind came out. So that was 1991. And of course, Nevermind was the first album by Nirvana that I ever heard, like for most people, I would imagine. And yeah, became completely obsessed with that album as well. But then went back and listened to this one, and I really loved it because it was so raw and gritty and heavy. And I think the reason I included this one on my list is I don't really listen to much grunge these days, apart from this band and Alice in Chains. In fact, they were the only two bands I really ever liked in this so-called genre. But why this album was important to me was because it introduced me to the concept of the underground. This album was underground at the time of its release, in the sense that music doesn't have to be popular in order to be of good quality. And like, that may seem obvious to all of us now, but when you're a kid you don't know any better, so you just listen to popular music or whatever's on the radio. But this showed me that a really raw, gritty, mean underground album is just awesome, brilliant music. Quite funny though, the cover looks kind of like a metal album, doesn't it? A speed metal album or something. This was when the band was a four-piece. You've also got Jason Everman on second guitar there. But another interesting thing about this album is it's so unrelated to heavy metal. Not really. If you ask me, like, you listen to the riffs on some songs like Floyd the Barber, Negative Creep, Scoff, Swap Meet, and they're metal riffs as far as I'm concerned. Like, maybe it's a bit sort of sludge metal maybe, but they're very heavy. And I know this band didn't associate themselves with heavy metal, but I think they were no doubt influenced. But anyway, fantastic album. And another fun fact, I heard that Digby from Earache Records was considering signing this band after Bleach came out because he thought the sound was really heavy and sludgy. So there you go, that never happened, and then the band went in a different direction. Yes, but this album showed me the significance of underground albums being of great quality. So Nirvana, Bleach, and this was when I was about, so still in chronological order, when I was about 14 years old, 13, 14, yeah. All right. So then things started to get heavier and more extreme, as they generally do. Another highly influential album for me, which got me into proper metal music, was Metallica with Kill Em All. Yeah, brilliant album. I can't say anything that hasn't been said before. Again, the first album I discovered by Metallica was the Black Album. That came out when I was about 12 years old, but I heard it when I was 14. But then after that, I had a couple of friends who were also into the same music, and one of them bought all of the 4 early albums by Metallica on CD. And he loaned me this one because it was his least favorite, his loss. But so as a result, I was just playing it all the time, and this was my first introduction to real metal music. Like everything else so far, it was sort of like hard rock or glam or hair metal related, you know, or grunge, something like that. But this was the first real heavy metal album. I know it's thrash, but you know, metal album, where I just thought, it's raw, it's energetic, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's brilliant. Yeah, so I have very fond memories of this album, and it contributed significantly to my musical taste. And that's when this really set me on the path to discovering heavier music. So you all know it, brilliant album, Metallica, Kill Em All. And yeah, so like I said, this was when I was about 14 years old as well. So that year, when I was 14, it was very influential because I discovered a lot at that time. Reading in I think Metal Hammer magazine or something like that, or Metal Masters, the Australian one, there was an article about death metal, and I'd never even heard of that, but I had just got into heavy metal and thrash metal. But yes, there was an article about various death metal bands that had been banned in Australia, and then I went to a shop in the city with my friends, and they had all these albums, so we asked to put them on, and then that's how I discovered death metal music. So undoubtedly the first release which introduced me to death metal was Pieces by Dismember. So yeah, the famous EP which came out after Like an Ever-Flowing Stream. I remember I just saw the name and I go, I remember from that article there's this band Dismember, so we asked the guy to put it on, and I was just completely blown away by the energy and the explosiveness of this release, and also the spontaneity and freedom. Like, you know, a band like Metallica, for example, it's verse, chorus, solo, verse, chorus. But I noticed the freedom element in death metal. Like the first song, Pieces, it just bursts out of the speakers, and then after 2 lines, it bursts into this random explosive guitar solo, and I thought, wow, this is just so full of energy and excitement, and really loved it upon first listen. So Dismember was the first death metal band I ever heard and ever got into, I would say. Yeah, so Dismember Pieces. But on a related note, I couldn't leave this one out either. So this is joint for death metal in the 2 albums which really, or 2 releases, I should say. The other one being Cannibal Corpse, Hammer Smashed Face. So yes, I had just so I had just discovered Dismember, but then I heard this and this blew me away because Dismember is still quite melodic. You know, it had a lot of a relationship with heavy metal, I think, and you could make out some of the words to a degree, but this was the first release which introduced me to this really insane extreme form of death metal, like you all know it, the blasting drums, the crazy riffs, the inhumanly low vocals from Chris Barnes, and also that at the time I was 14, like read the lyrics to Hammer Smash Face. It was quite shocking and in your face. So like I just thought, wow, so that really opened me up to the world of extreme music. So for death metal, I would say jointly, yeah, Dismember Pieces and Cannibal Corpse, Hammer Smashed Face. Okay, and then this is the 7th album I'm showing today, so sorry I couldn't limit it to just 5. But lastly, but certainly not least, the album which got me into black metal properly, Emperor with In the Nightside Eclipse. So you may have heard this story when I was 14. So 1993, very formative year for my extreme taste. The first 2 black metal bands I actually heard were Impale Nazarene and Abruptum, and I did like them very much because that was just extreme to the point of out of this world from my perspective at the time. But this was the album that first got me seriously into black metal. It was the first band I got heavily into and obsessed over. Just I think I was initially enticed by the imagery, you know, the merchandise and the, you know, the photo shoots of this band. And then when I got this album, it was actually a blind buy, but I had heard from people it was kind of symphonic and atmospheric. And then I heard the music. It was just extremely epic and majestic. You know, with a lot of black metal bands had already used keyboards. So this band wasn't the first, but this band made it truly symphonic and epic and huge, just monumental. And it sort of immersed me in this fantasy world of magic. Like that iconic cover art really sums up the music so well. These are just soundscapes to dark and majestic lands. It's brilliant. Everyone knows Emperor. And if you saw my Emperor ranking, you'll know that this is easily my favorite album, and it always has a special place in my heart. So yes, this was what got me into black metal. And then shortly after this, it was Pure Holocaust by Immortal. But yes, this was certainly the first. So Emperor, In the Nightside Eclipse, brilliant, essential black metal album. All right, guys, so that's it. So I know that with the choices, I was supposed to choose 5. I chose 6 with Nirvana and then the 2 death metal ones, so it actually amounted to 7. I hope that's permissible. I felt that I couldn't leave any of these releases out as being important. Okay, now for the shoutouts. So I know a lot of threads lately have been asking for shoutouts, and I've already given loads, and I'm very happy to do that because I enjoy watching so many people's channels. So in a way, it's good because you get to mention everyone, you know, with all of these shout outs coming up. And so that means if I haven't mentioned you already, don't worry, I will get around to you. But these ones that immediately sprang to mind for this particular video. First of all, Joe's Metal Man Cave. So a lot of you might know his channel already. He's a guy from, it's North America. I'm not sure if it's US or Canada, but he's a really cool, funny guy, does good impressions. And his musical tastes remind me of mine because he has a very eclectic taste in music, but mostly likes black metal, so I can sort of relate to that. He has an awesome collection and man cave. So, and the other day I was watching one of his videos, an intimate look at his CD collection. It said 48 minutes and I watched it, but the time seemed to go so quickly because I enjoyed it so much. So he's a very knowledgeable and entertaining guy to watch. So definitely check that out. Go Joe's Metal Man Cave. Secondly is a relatively new channel called Ninth Circle. This is run by a guy called Bill, and again, I'm not sure if he's from US or Canada, but his channel is quite new. It's only, I think, like 40 something subscribers at this stage, but he's very new, but it's really good quality viewing. He loves a lot of the music that I like as well, like death metal, black metal, and so on. And he's also very knowledgeable and just releases quality videos. Like he did a Dismember album ranking, which was very entertaining, and he's joined a lot of these threads. And that's the great thing about this community with threads, and you discover other people's channels. But he seems like a really nice guy as well, so with a great taste in music, so check out Ninth Circle. And thirdly, this is a channel that I've been giving a few thread responses to lately. Ron Haggerty, what's the official name of his channel? Ron Haggerty Vinyl Sanctuary, I think. I'll put the real name down here in case I got it wrong. But yes, if you don't know Ron, he's a really nice guy. Very soft-spoken, and it's always relaxing to watch his videos, and I mean that in a good way. Like if I'm feeling stressed out or something, it calms me down and helps me to decompress. He's got an awesome collection as well. Very eclectic taste in music, spanning all metal genres, and he's knowledgeable, you know, going back quite a long time, you know, even to, you know, 70s metal albums, rock and metal. So yeah, I always learn something when I watch his videos, and he's come up with some really entertaining and interesting threads as well. So that's Ron Haggerty. Okay, fourth shout out is going to Brendan Von Doom, otherwise known as BVD. He's another Aussie metalhead from, from Melbourne, I think, Victoria anyway, I'm pretty sure. And I started watching his channel a couple of years ago. His main styles of music are heavy metal and thrash metal. He's very knowledgeable about thrash metal, and he's got an awesome collection, just so much stuff coming in, and so many cool presses of vinyls. And what I also like about his channel is he showcases a lot of sort of underground and old Australian bands, so it's kind of nostalgic for me. I go, oh yeah, I remember that band from the 90s, you know, like Frozen Doberman or something like that. But yeah, also he's just really nice guy, top bloke. Yeah, so definitely check out his channel. He's a very down-to-earth guy. That's Brendan Von Doom. And the last one, this is a very big channel. I've already, I think in Roger Kjærvik's thread, I mentioned some big channels. This is another big hitter, which I forgot to mention, but it's definitely an entertaining channel, and that's Brain Smasher. That's Ben from the US. Loads of you probably know him because I think he's got over 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers now, but he's just got a massive epic collection. You check the background of his videos, there's endless shelves of CDs, it's awesome. And what's interesting about him is he's just a very entertaining, funny guy, the way he talks about albums. I think he's about my age because he mentions, you know, when he discovered certain bands, like the years they came out. So we're about the same age, and we have a similar taste in extreme music, I would say. What I also like about Ben's channel is he likes a lot of obscure and interesting stuff. He's a big fan of 90s Swedish black metal, and I'm always learning about new bands. I thought I had a pretty good knowledge of that, but I always learn more from him. You know, those kind of No Fashion, the Swedish label, those kind of black metal bands. So I always find when I watch his channel, it's like this real nostalgia trip into that, you know, 90s period of second wave of and Swedish black metal. So that's Brain Smasher. Yeah, definitely. So they're my 5 shoutouts: Joe's Metal Man Cave, Ninth Circle, Ron Haggerty, Brendan Von Doom, and Brain Smasher. And there's so many other channels out there, everyone, which are great. Everyone knows I comment on those channels. So as I said, if I haven't mentioned you, I will get around to you, but a lot of brilliant channels out there, so let's keep them coming. All right, so I've been rambling on enough. I hope you enjoyed my response to this thread, and if you haven't jumped on board, just go and check out John's channel. I'll leave the link to his video in the description, and good luck with it. So once again, John, congratulations on reaching 500 subscribers. Here's to many more, and I look forward to watching more people's responses. So in the meantime, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. See you.